Hey gang, welcome to Papa's Model Workshop. I'm Papa, and this is my workshop. I belong to a number of Facebook pages, or Facebook groups rather, and I see posts from a lot of people who are thinking about getting back into the hobby, but haven't quite taken the step, or some people who have taken the step and, are still in the beginning stages. And one of the big factors holding some folks back from getting involved in the hobby is the cost factor. A lot of people see airbrushes and compressors, and those things can get expensive. If you're just starting out, I would not recommend going the route of jumping in and getting all of the best equipment. I would certainly not recommend getting an airbrush or a compressor if you're just starting. The reason for that is because, you want to make sure before you make that kind of an investment, you want to make sure that you like the hobby. Now, for me, I love it. It's in my bones. I can't get enough of it, but that's me. Now, perfect case in point is this particular model that I'm doing. This is a 1970 CUDA. It's a Revel kit in 1/25th scale. I just painted it in lime green in an acrylic. This was a Createx, and it was the very first time I ever used Createx. But the reason I'm bringing this up is, and here's the kit. Here's what I got. And the reason I'm bringing this kit up is because this kit came from a gentleman that actually works with my son. My son works for an alarm company, and he's the fleet manager. And one of his drivers, he knew that I built models, and he brought this model into my son to give to me after he purchased it. And the reason he brought it in to give to me is because he thought he'd give model building a try. He'd never done a model before. He opened it up, looked over everything, looked at the instructions, and even glued two halves of the engine together and decided, this isn't my deal. I'm not really liking this. So he brought the kit into my son to give to me. So thank you very much, whoever you are, sir. I'm loving this kit. And his purchase was the kit. He purchased, let me see here. He purchased this glue, Testors glue, and he purchased a basic Testors paint kit. I guess there's about 10 colors in here, I guess. So his total layout was, let me see, the paint kit was $20, and the 2-pack of glue was about $10, and the kit itself was $32.95. Round figures $33. If you add all of that up, it cost him $63. Now, you don't want to throw $63 out the window, but if you went out and you bought an airbrush and a compressor and all of the tools, you could be out a couple of $100s. And that's the reason why I'm saying, you know what? Don't run out and get an airbrush right off the bat. Do what this gentleman did, and worst case scenario, you discover that you don't like it. You're only out $63 instead of a couple of $100s. Now, if you decide, gee, I really like this, by all means, I will suggest strongly that you invest in an airbrush. There's a number of airbrushes out there. I'll go over some of that in a minute, but let me tell you some of the basic things that you'll need in addition to what this gentleman purchased. Again, he purchased the kit, the paints, and the glues. The glue that I like to use is this Revel glue. This is a wonderful glue. I use this most of the time. And let me just tell you something about this glue, okay? A lot of people have trouble with this glue because of this applicator, because it clogs up. What I have done is I took can you see that? This is just a staple, all right? And I straightened it out, and I put the staple inside the applicator like that, and it prevents it from clogging. Okay, simple fix. And the other glue that I use quite a bit is the Tamiya Extra Thin Cement. This particular glue, what this will do is it will actually it'll soften the two edges that are going to be glued, and it welds them together. It's a terrific glue. And let me see here. Do I have two pieces close by? No, I don't. Okay. Well, anyway, you can actually comes with a little brush. All right, and you can actually run now this is one piece. I'm just using this as an example, but let's say these two pieces were going to be glued together. You can just run this right down the joint, and it'll seep in, and it will, as I said, soften the two edges to be glued, and then they will bind together like a weld. It's a terrific glue. The only thing I will caution you about this glue is if you paint your pieces first, this will remove the paint. All right, so be very careful. And I kind of like doing that. All right, let me see here. Okay. I like to use this organizer. Excuse my hand. And, I cut all of the pieces off. The sprue, as it's called. If you're brand new to this hobby, the sprue is basically the part that holds the parts. And as you can see, I have my parts painted already. Okay. This would be the sprue down here. And if you're gluing pieces together, like this is the back, okay, of this seat. All right, can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. I'm brand new to videotaping on YouTube, so be patient with me. I'm still learning, and I'm still going to make mistakes, so just be a little bit patient with me. But this is the seat backing for this seat, and with that thin glue, you can just put this together, all right, and then just run that brush right along the seam, and it'll weld those two pieces together. But again, these are painted pieces, so it will take this paint off if you're not careful. That's why in this particular instance, I would probably make the decision to go with this glue on the edges right in here. Just a little bit of glue on those edges, and you don't have to worry about the paint being taken off if you're brushing it on the outside of the seam, as I mentioned. This is a terrific idea. I think it works for me, where I take all of the pieces off and, I paint them. And I got this at Hobby Lobby. I think it was about, I don't know, $30 or $40. I can't remember exactly. But this is, again, something that works for me. I actually got that idea from watching Angelo's workbench. So it's not my idea. I don't want to pretend I thought of that. So Angelo was the one that actually had the idea of doing that. So I want to give credit where credit is due. But some of the other pieces that you might need as a startup, I would suggest an X-Acto blade. This is a number 11 blade. Okay, X-Acto knife, and a pin vise. All right, a lot of these kits, sometimes the pilot holes have to be enlarged. Hang on, gang. Let me see if I can find an example of that. All right, I can't quick grab one, and I don't want to sit here all day long boring you, but where the pieces come together, you have a pilot hole and a pin, and they come together. And sometimes that pilot hole isn't always large enough, so you have to make it a little bit larger, and that's where your pin vise comes into play. Pin vise comes with a number of bits. It's a helpful tool. It's not expensive, so I would suggest, okay, your X-Acto knife, a pin vise. I would suggest a tiny detail brush, okay, particularly if you're going to go the route of the Testors paints that I showed you a few minutes ago, because obviously that will require a brush. And the other thing is tweezers. These are tweezers that have a little bit of an angle to them. I actually like these the best. These are very good. They're pointed, all right, and very helpful, but my personal preference, I just kind of like these. And the other thing that I suggest is some files. These are files that are specific to, and here's my son. I'm taping. You want to say hello?
Hello.
I would suggest getting files that are made specifically for plastic models. I use these just about every single time I'm at my workbench. And I mentioned earlier that I paint my pieces ahead of time, and I'll use the files to remove the paint from a painted edge. If I'm going to glue this edge, for example, I'll remove that paint, ahead of time, and then remove the paint on the other side or the other surface that's going to be glued to it. And, you won't have a mess with paint running because of the glue, and it will join much easier. So file is very helpful. Okay. And you can also use sanding sticks. These are sanding sticks that come in a number of grits. This is an 80 grit. This is 180 grit. You can get these grits that go all the way up to 10 or 12,000. And here's an example of these are sanding sponges. This is a 400. Okay. And I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but you can go up to 1,000. All right. I don't know if you can see that. And 3,200. All right. And as I mentioned, this will go all the way up to 10 or 12,000. I like these sanding sponges as opposed to using sandpaper. It's just easier to work with. And if you're wet sanding, it's nice. You can just, I keep a custard dish with water, and I can just, immerse this in the water, and I can wet sand. So these sanding sponges, I like them. And the sanding sticks, and you can get smaller sanding sticks too for getting into small little areas, see? All right. And so, I would suggest those things. None of this is really very expensive. You're going to need a pair of nippers. Okay. Again, we discussed taking parts off the sprue. Okay. So this particular brand has a very thin cutting edge. Over at my build area, this is my paint setup area. I have another workbench where I actually do the assembly in the building, and I have a Rui tool snippers there, and they're terrific. But where this comes together, where it meets the sprue, you would just nip this off. So good pair of nippers is also suggested. You can use your knife to do this. I just find the nippers to be a little bit better. What this thing is, this is a burnishing tool. Now, a lot of times, if you're going to be doing, well, here's a good example. This is an example of where I went with a matte black or a flat black for the flooring area of the interior and up here in the engine compartment. I'm going with the green. This is going to match, all right, the CUDA that I'm working on. And you would take tape, all right, and mask off your areas so you can, have more than one color in a given area or on a given piece. Comes in multiple widths. This is a little bit wider, all right? And here's a much thinner one, all right? Okay, see how much thinner that is. So your burnishing tool would be used where you're going to be putting the edge of your tape. You put your tape down, and then you take your burnishing tool and you just kind of sock it down, all right? Lay it down real tight against the surface. And, you know, a lot of times you might still get a little bit of bleed underneath. You can just, you know, if that happens, you can, you know, touch that up or sand it a little bit and, you know, reapply the paint or whatever, or you can use markers, for example. You know, I have a ton of these little markers. So these are great for, you know, going in and touching up. And these particular markers have a nice pointed end, so it can get right into, you know, small, tight spots. So I have a whole bunch of markers that are right off camera over here. I guess I must have, oh, gee, I don't know. Gonna guess over, gee, I don't know, 120, 130, I don't know, markers in different colors and so forth. You know, you don't have to run out and get a whole bunch of markers because we're trying to keep this relatively simple. And some of these markers can be expensive. Another thing I would suggest is clamps. Okay, if you're going to be gluing, you know, pieces together. All right. These are the sanding sticks. Again, I'm just using this as an example. You glue your pieces and you can hold them together with your clamp. Okay, so I would suggest getting some clamps. They're relatively inexpensive. You know, so you can get started in this hobby and not have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. As I mentioned, the gentleman that gave me the Cuda, his total out-of-pocket cost was $63. Okay, you add in some of these tools that I've already shown you, and gee, I don't know, it's going to amount to maybe another, I don't know, $30 perhaps. Again, still much less than spending hundreds. The other thing you can do, and I thought I had it up here, I guess not. Hang on, give me 1 second. Okay. I think I banged the camera there. I apologize. Okay. You can purchase spray cans, spray paint. All right. I would suggest getting spray paint from a hobby store, or if you want to shop online, there's Amazon, there's eBay, multiple other model specific companies like Spray Gunner or Model Roundup. Spray Gunner, while I'm on the subject of Spray Gunner, let me just give a shout out to them, because I'll tell you, I bought a compressor from them about a month ago, and I had a problem with it, and I sent them an email. It was on a weekend, actually, when I sent the email, and I was simply asking a question about, you know, the performance of the compressor. The compressor wasn't shutting off. It's supposed to shut off if you have a compressor with a tank. It's supposed to shut off when it reaches you know, the proper amount of air in the tank, and mine was not shutting off. So I really thought I was doing something wrong. They replied right away, same day, in an email, and they said, send it back, we'll warranty it. And they even sent me a postage paid mailing, you know, they emailed me a postage paid label. That's what I'm trying to say. Packed it up, sent it to them. They sent me a brand new compressor. They didn't fix the one I sent them and sent it back. They didn't send me a refurbished one. They sent me a brand new one. So big thumbs up to Spray Gunner. Okay, they're terrific. But anyway, if you're, we're not going to go that route if you're a beginner. But anyway, I would suggest getting paints that are specific for model building, okay? You've got Testors right here. You've got Tamiya. Testors was bought out by Rust-Oleum, by the way, and the quality of Testors is not the way it used to be. Testors used to be the standard. My favorite for spray painting is Tamiya. All right, there's a lot of other paints out there, so that's just my preference, and just because I prefer it doesn't mean that it's the only one. You can do a nice job. Gee, I keep hitting this. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm brand new to videoing. But you can go with the Testors rattle can, and it'll produce some very nice results for you. What I will say, if you're just starting out, the number one piece of advice I can give you is go slow. Okay, go slow and be patient. You know, when you're model building, okay, this is all part of the equation. Is things, you know, maybe not going exactly right. That's all part of the equation. That's the challenge, actually. If everything was just quick, and went together perfect every single time, you know, it kind of takes the challenge away, and then it's really, in a strange kind of way, maybe not even as enjoyable, because some of the enjoyment is overcoming some of the challenges. Now, a good example is this. Move this stuff out of the way. Is this truck here? Oop, that goes here. Okay. But this is my monster truck. This is an AMT kit. And actually, this kit went together pretty well. But what happened on this particular truck was right here. Whoops, that's my hood. Usually you leave the hoods off, and I'm speaking to the beginners. You know, if you're an experienced modeler, you know that you don't glue your hood down. And the reason for that is so you can show your engine work. But anyway, and I weathered this a little bit, so that's what those, you know, these rust marks are that I applied, okay? I put a little bit of rust here and there to try to add a degree of realism. But this drive shaft right here, okay, was missing. And yeah, that can make you a little bit nuts. The one thing, again, I will tell you, is be patient. Go slow, and when you run into an obstacle or a hurdle, yeah, it can be frustrating, but if it gets to the point where you're just frustrated, where you're just getting mad, never build mad, all right? Because when you build when you're mad, you end up making more mistakes, and that makes you madder, and that leads to more mistakes on top of the original mistake. This was not a mistake, really. It was something that was left out of the kit, which happens sometimes. So what I did to overcome this, okay, and when you don't get mad and you sit back and think about the problem that you're having, you can sometimes come up with a solution. And my solution was I found two smaller drive shafts. I guess I stole it out of another kit, and I drilled a very small hole in this larger one right here, all right, using my pin vise, all right, and took the smaller part of the drive shaft and inserted it into that hole, and well, it kind of worked out. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Don't get mad. Stop and think, and a lot of times you'll be able to come up with a solution. You know, if you get to a point where you're just mad, where you want to throw your model on the floor and step on it, then it's definitely time to stop and walk away, all right? Sometimes you have to walk away for a minute or two. Sometimes you have to walk away for a couple of hours, or maybe until the next day, when you can come back with a fresh perspective, but never build mad, okay? But that's what I did here. And as I said, that's part of model building, is the challenge of overcoming some things that aren't going right. That's going to happen sometimes. This is a hobby that's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyment. And when you run into problems, like I said, you can either step back and try to rationalize how to overcome the problem, or you can throw your model on the floor and stomp on it, which means you're going to be out that money for that kit, and you've lost all the work that you put into it, and not a good thing to do. So always just pause and assess the situation, and a lot of times you can come up with something. And when something doesn't go right, let me tell you something. All right, when something doesn't go right, it's a learning opportunity. I make mistakes almost every build. I have yet to build a perfect model. All right. And if I build until the day I die, I probably will not build the perfect 100% model. Okay. There will always be something that could be a little bit better, could be tweaked a little bit more. That's just part of the entire equation. And, that for me anyway, that imperfection keeps me motivated to try to learn and to try to do better. So as weird as this sounds, I hope you're plagued with problems, not big ones, but it's a learning process, and that's what problems and mistakes do. They teach you. And by now I should be the smartest guy in the whole world because I make mistakes all the time. And I'm not a master model builder, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a mediocre weekend hobbyist. I love this hobby, and that's why I'm making this video. And there will probably be more to come because I love sharing this hobby, particularly if you're starting out. I love to share, and I hope that a bunch of people get involved in this hobby. It's a wonderful hobby. So anyway, that I think will do it for this episode. I have a Facebook page. It's called Papa's Model Workshop. You can leave a comment there. As I said, I'm brand new to YouTube, so I think you can leave a comment here and a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you don't like it. But just if you would be kind enough to leave some indication that you saw this, that way I know I'm not sitting here talking to myself. And if I see that I'm not talking to myself, I'll make more videos. So listen, thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you the next time. Okay? Thanks.